Spiros Fatouros, CEO of Marsh South Africa. You are watching Risk Africa TV. I think last year was an amazing conference, and really the theme I think continues to today. I think technology a key issue for most businesses, and I think you really need to understand, like we said last year, how you use it, how things are going to change, and how they potentially can or can't disrupt your business. So Marsh as an organization, I think we've really taken on board the digital frontier. I think we're one of the few brokerages that globally have hired a Chief Digital Officer, and the real focus is understanding how do we leverage technology for our different customer segments. Obviously, being a global firm, we have clients that range from your large global multinational firms down to your small SME businesses in South Africa and across the continent. So I think it's trying to understand how you use technology for those different segments. And I think, like we said last year, if you look at the industry, the three key pillars really come down to data, distribution, and capital. And the interplay between those three, I think, is what the industry has to understand. And the interplay between those three will be different in each of the different customer segments. So again, I think if you think about a large global multinational firm, are they ever going to buy the insurance, off their iPhones? It's unlikely. Risk is complicated. The global firm, they need to understand their risks, their interdependencies. So you need to work with someone that understands that, and that's going to be much more a bespoke, tailored, intellectual property-based kind of solution. That's going to be driven by people. And again, I think you have to have the right people to deliver that service. And then if you move to the other spectrum, where you're dealing with the man in the street or a retail customer, you have to step up to where technology is at the moment, where it's instant purchases, instant gratification. Do you buy insurance just for an episode? Do you buy insurance just for a trip on an Uber car? These are some of the things that I think the industry is looking at, and some exciting innovation that's coming into that space. I think what's scary, I think you need to understand as you embrace technology, and I think we're going to live in a mixed society with mixed rules. So again, and we spoke a lot last year about artificial intelligence, you talk about autonomous driving cars, and I think that's the best example. If you think about a self-driving car mixed in an environment with human drivers, how are you going to get those rules correct? And that's going to be interesting. So I think that's going to take a long time for the risk issues to bed themselves down. So I think that'll be an interesting challenge, but like we said, it's coming fast, it's coming quick, and I think you have to adopt it and understand how it impacts your business, and be ready for the disruption and be ready for the change. I think it's a key point. And it has to be a thread that comes through, particularly for the industry. If you think about insurance, it's not one of the sexiest careers. The young millennials either want to get into IT, banking, lawyers. Everyone wants to be a lawyer, but I think that's just because there's lots of lawyer TV programs. But again, I think education is key. And like I said earlier, one of the advantages of technology is that it's very easy for a client or someone in the industry to get up to speed very quickly with a basic understanding of insurance and risk. So we need to skill our people beyond that point, so that they can continue to add value to clients. So I think education is key, and deep sector expertise and really understanding your client and understanding risk is a key differentiator. Again, the world's moving away from generalists. The South African economy has always been, we've always had a lot of generalists in the business. I think, again, we're definitely moving to a much more specialized type of business model like we have overseas. So again, having that deep sector specialty, having that deep product knowledge, that's where you can really add value to the clients. And that's where you've got to get the business model right, where you can take the best parts of your business, whether it's your people, whether it's your products, whether it's your platform, and you bring that and deliver that to the client. But education is fundamental. And I think something from a Marsh perspective, we really spend a lot of time bringing graduates into the business, trying to think about how we train them up, how we develop them. So we've got formal programs for interns, for learners, for graduates. Bring them into the business, train them, teach them, and always looking to improve that and make it better than it currently is. Because at the end of the day, they're going to drive some of the innovation. They're the futures of the business. I think it's hugely important. I mean, if you go back to what is the fundamentals of insurance, it's really, the premium of the many pay the claims of the few. So you have that risk sharing, which is the fundamental aspect of insurance. So getting that right and working across the continent, I think is very key. I think the challenge, which is understandable if you look across most of the regulators, most of the African countries, there is definitely a view to protect the local industry, to help grow the local industry, which I think makes sense for that country in their specific environment. But again, when you think about a large account or a large client, to try to get that pooling of all the risk, how do they interact with the countries in Africa? How do they interact with certain of the insurers? How do you build an insurance program that ultimately benefits the customer? And trying to get that right between, having local protectionism in a country and trying to create a global program. Those are always some practical challenges on the ground. But again, I think we've got from a Marsh perspective, again, very excited about the African continent. We remain committed to Africa. We're continually looking to invest into Africa. Recently, about 3 months ago, we've created a new region, just really taken the Middle East, North Africa and Africa and really putting them together under Middle Eastern Africa. And again, I think the real focus on that is to not sort of have North Africa split from South Africa, split from East Africa, is to look at the continent in totality and think about where there are growth opportunities for us as a business. And really, as you look at it now across the world, Africa is still one of the key continents where there are growth opportunities. Do we have to unlock them? Yes. Are there going to be challenges? No doubt. But again, to be in a position where there is a possibility of growth is way better than being in a position where there's no possibility of growth.